2024 has been an interesting year of gaming. There have been some incredible highs with the release of games like Helldivers 2, which shocked the world and sparked a cult following many didn't see coming. There have also been some less than thrilling lows, games that left us with a pit in our stomach and a bad taste in our mouth. Today, we look at the rest of 2024 and highlight some of the games with the biggest potential. My name is Kodiak, this is Legacy Gaming, and let's dive into our list. First on our list is Creatures of Ava, which I think could be a surprise hit with all the casual gamers out there. Our friends at 11-bit rarely publish bad games, and this spin on a creature capture game certainly merits consideration. The planet of Ava is being infected by something called the Withering, and it's your job to try and save and cleanse as many of the planet's alien inhabitants as possible. Throughout your adventure, you'll use a magical staff, as well as an array of other unique tools to calm and persuade the creatures to trust you, all while also navigating a complicated relationship with the planet's natives. From what I've seen, the game looks polished, and if it's got enough depth with its systems, I think it could be a surprise indie hit this year. Easily one of the most anticipated games on the list, Black Myth: Wukong is an action RPG inspired by the classic Chinese novel Journey to the West. Drawing from Chinese mythology and folklore, players will take control of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, and will engage in dynamic battles against a variety of mythical creatures and formidable bosses. Wukong's transformative abilities and martial arts prowess should be at the center of the gameplay, but with only a handful of cinematic trailers to go by, it's hard to say at this point. One thing is for sure, the game looks stunning, and for their first game, Game Science Studios has an incredible opportunity to win over fans and establish themselves as a developer to watch in the future. With the return of Chris Metzen, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and a relatively successful run in the last couple of years, World of Warcraft is looking relatively strong going into August and the release of their latest DLC, The War Within. The real key here is getting the game's story back on track, which is why the fanbase is so excited about Metzen's return. That plus new features that are almost universally praised, like Delves, which are flexible mini dungeons, warbands, which allow groups of characters to share reputation and gear, and the introduction of hero talents, which add a new layer to the already complex tapestry of build crafting. 2 decades later, and this game is still going incredibly strong, and with the Worldstone saga, the name connecting the next 3 DLCs together, just starting, it doesn't look like our time in Azeroth is slowing down anytime soon. Ubisoft is getting a bite at the Star Wars apple with their upcoming open-world game Star Wars Outlaws. I'll tell you straight, I'm excited about this title and can't honestly wait for a game set in this universe that doesn't involve Jedi and Sith. Don't get me wrong, they're great, but across TV, film, theme parks, and games, I'm just a bit tired of the Force. Outlaws takes a much different approach to the iconic universe. You play as Kay Vess, and working for or against various cartels, you'll make your mark on the galaxy, completing quests, pissing off the Empire, and making off with all the loot. Massive Entertainment is easily one of the most capable studios within Ubisoft, and what we've seen of the game already looks solid. Not only do Kay and her alien companion Nyx work together during combat, but also rely on each other to navigate the environment and manipulate the world. Add onto that a little dogfighting in space, and this game could win over the masses. Wardens everywhere are being called to build a maximum security prison, this time in 3D. That's right, 11 is back with Prison Architect 2, the much anticipated sequel to the original game, Prison Architect. If you've never even considered playing a game like this, I implore you to watch a few videos and check it out because colony sims are ridiculously fun and addictive. As a longtime fan of RimWorld, I can vouch for games like Prison Architect 2 that seemingly suck you in for hours on end. The game, as the name suggests, is all about building a prison, but it's more than just creating a few cells and calling it a day. Prisons are complex and require you to really think through the needs of the population or risk total chaos. Because the game is in 3D, there's a lot of newness coming to the experience, including the ability to build multiple floors and more tools to monitor and track the needs of your prisoners. 22 years later, and we're getting a remaster no one saw coming. Age of Mythology Retold is bringing the ancient gods back to the forefront in a hopefully true-to-form remake of the classic real-time strategy game. Take control of actual legends and impart your will on the mere mortals that you control, deploying monsters and channeling your mystical powers at anyone foolish enough to cross you. Greek, Egyptian, Norse, and Atlantean gods are all on the table at this point, but we know the team will reveal more as we approach the September release date. I don't think there's much more we need to say about this game other than this. If you like city builders, grew up in the 2000s, and have longed for the day when a remaster is actually as good, if not better than the base game, then keep your eyes on this one. When it comes to S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, we genuinely thought this game was doomed to be stuck in development forever, given the conflict in Ukraine, but somehow, the team has managed to keep the game moving forward. Set in the post-apocalyptic Chornobyl exclusion zone, you'll play a major part in the supposed non-linear story that ultimately decides the fate of the entire area. You'll need to use clever tactics against all of the enemies you'll encounter due to the game's advanced AI systems and realistic approach to weapon gameplay. Your actions in the zone and the people within it will have a ripple effect across the entire experience, and you'll even lean into some survival mechanics. You'll need to search for food and drink and find medical supplies, all while dealing with mutated enemies and deadly anomalies blocking your path. More than a decade later, we are finally getting a sequel we have all been asking for, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. The game picks up shortly after the story of the first game, with players taking control of Titus on a new mission to purge the Tyranids as they expand their hive mind. The game's visceral third-person action is on full display, and based on everything we have seen, it looks better than ever. You can take on the campaign solo or in co-op, but that's not all. The arena-based PvP that was established in the base game is back, and hopefully better than ever. Customization also looks top-notch, with players given almost complete control over their class, abilities, passives, weapons, and looks. It's a damn good time to be a Warhammer 40k fan, and if the team pulls this one off, it could be a huge hit in the back half of 2024. When the original Frostpunk hit the streets, I was blown away by 11-bit's take on a city builder, combining elements of dystopian survival I never thought possible in this genre. The game still holds a special place in my heart, which is why I am so excited that Frostpunk 2 is releasing this September. The Great Freeze is over, and while the world is still a dark and cold place, humanity isn't as worried about extinction and has instead shifted focus to rebuilding the world. It's still a bleak picture, and this time players won't be in control of individual buildings, but entire districts and factions all vying for power. The team could have taken the easy approach, refining what was already great in the first game, but once again 11-bit are out to prove they can redefine genres by pushing bold new ideas. After going hands-on with the game for about 11 hours in an early preview period, I can tell you the game is different, and you should check out that video if you want a deeper dive. But it's just as raw and visceral, which is why I think it'll be another huge success. While not a smash hit back in 2010, it's hard to argue any game with Mickey Mouse is ever truly bound to fail. That's why Disney Epic Mickey Rebrushed is such an interesting game. This time being released on all major consoles, I think the unique platformer has some real potential, especially if the team manages to round off some of the rough edges from the original game. No longer bound by the limitations of the Wii, I think there's a good chance of that, and if you factor in some of the game's unique mechanics like using a magical paintbrush to add and remove objects to the world, there's still plenty here that could win over fans. It is a Disney game, so don't expect the hardest adventure out there, but from what I've seen, this looks like an awesome title to pick up if you're in the mood for an old school platformer with some new school ideas. We don't cover a lot of Switch games on the channel, but The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom is one that certainly caught my attention. After Link disappears into a strange void, it's up to Zelda to save Hyrule. The game takes a much different approach to the action, and once Zelda learns how to wield the power of the Tri-Rod, you'll spend the rest of the game learning to create copies of items and enemies within the world, summoning them whenever and wherever you need. It's an adventure game that combines various elements of platforming, puzzle solving, and unique combat, the likes of which we've never really seen in a Zelda game, and that alone makes it different enough to be noteworthy. It's been a few years since we had a proper Dragon Ball fighting game, and this October, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero looks to put the series back on the map. A lot of the core features from Budokai Tenkaichi 3 will carry over, but the game is also taking some big steps forward. Skill counts will rise as you perform moves during combat, spending them to trigger special abilities. Other new features like short dash and super perception also look to quicken the pace, a big focus of this new title. With its 164 characters, Sparking Zero is set to be the biggest Dragon Ball fighting game to date, and that alone is enough to put it on the map. It's strange for us to be talking about Call of Duty, but here we are. Black Ops 6 hits this September, and the game is taking some sizable steps to differentiate itself within a lineup that's almost impossible to keep track of if you're a casual fan. Now, I know there aren't many casual COD fans out there, but it is still possible to find them. That being said, Black Ops 6 is introducing some really interesting features, the main one being Omni Movement, which for the first time will allow players to move and sprint in any direction while also simultaneously allowing them to look in a different direction. This also changes the way players can dive, peek, and slide, all of which aims to make the gameplay even faster. On top of that, the classic Prestige system is returning to multiplayer, which means level up, hit Prestige, wipe the board clean, a welcome return for many old-school COD fans. Of course, if you're only in it for the story, the team is anchoring everything around the Gulf War and Saddam Hussein, which should present an interesting backdrop for some alternative reality timelines. I swear Nintendo is really digging into their bag of tricks with this last wave of Switch content before a new console is announced, because Mario and Luigi Brothership is another unique game that really looks to push the developer's tried and true model a step further than it's gone before. The game focuses on, as the title suggests, the relationship between Mario and Luigi, and everything from the traversal to the combat intertwines their skills and abilities in a way that makes them equally important throughout the game. With one button, you might control Mario's actions, while simultaneously controlling Luigi's with another. If you're looking for a different take on some classic Mario action, then check out Brothership, which arrives this fall. The Assassin's Creed franchise is finally heading to Japan, something the community has been asking for since the first game released back in 2007. The game is going to be massive and will follow in the footsteps of the more RPG-centric games in the series, like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. But there are some changes worth pointing out. For starters, players will be able to take control of two distinctly different characters: Naoe, an agile and stealthy ninja, and Yasuke, a skilled and disciplined samurai. Both bring different skills to bear, and while it's not clear exactly how that's going to play out, we've seen enough bits of gameplay to show us how different the two characters are. With a long-awaited setting, two dynamic characters, and new systems like destructible environments, and new traversal options like the grappling hook, this could be the biggest Assassin's Creed game to date. So there you have it, everything still to come that we think is worth talking about in 2024. What do you think of our list? Are you excited about these games, or are you already counting down until 2025 and the next big wave of AAA titles? Let us know in the comments, and of course, if you like this video, be sure to drop us a like and consider subscribing. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.